is going to be a 30-minute level 2 yoga class. I am currently a senior at Iowa State University, majoring in kinesiology and health, and I am really excited to get started today. So we are going to start class today in child's pose. So coming down onto our mats, we can keep the knees close together or we can take them out wide, really sinking into the hips here, stretching the arms out in front of us, allowing the forehead to rest towards the mat. If it feels comfortable, we can maybe allow the eyes to draw closed here. Just taking a moment to really arrive for our practice. Bringing our full attention to our breath. With each inhale, we're feeling the belly press against the thighs. With each exhale, feeling the belly and the chest release. Taking the time here to reconnect. And on our next inhale, we'll slowly start to walk the fingertips over towards the right corner of the mat, feeling a bit of a side stretch along the left side of the body. And inhaling, switching sides, walking the fingertips over towards the left corner. And inhaling, coming back to center, taking just one more breath here. And on our next inhale, we're going to shift our weight forward, coming into a tabletop position here. So shoulders over the wrists and hips over the knees here. We're going to move into our cat and cows. So inhaling, dropping the belly, lifting the gaze for cow. And exhaling, rounding out through the spine, tucking in the chin for cat. Inhaling for cow. And exhaling for cat. Moving with our own breath at our own pace here. Eventually coming to a neutral spine. And from here, finding a little bit of a C curve on our next inhale, we're going to bring the gaze over to our hips, finding a bit of a divot in the side, really stretching out the right side of the body or the left, whatever side we're finding. And exhaling, switching sides, looking towards the other hip. Inhaling back to center, and exhaling, looking at the other side. Really just finding whatever feels good here, going at our own pace. Finding one more on each side. Eventually coming back to center. And on our next inhale, we're going to tuck the toes and lift the hips, finding our first downward facing dog of the class today. I invite you to pedal out the feet here, starting to warm up the back of the legs. Spreading the fingertips, activating the arms here. From here, finding a little bit of movement in the body. On our inhale, we're going to shift the weight forward, coming back to a tabletop, but maybe trying to hover the knees here, really pressing away from the mat, engaging the core. And exhaling, sending it back. Moving with our breath here, inhaling, shifting the weight forward, engaging the core. And exhaling, sending it back. Moving with our own breath, finding this just 2 more times. Eventually meeting in our downward facing dog. From here, inhaling, our gazes forward, we'll travel to the top of our mats. And exhaling, forward fold, allowing the head to hang heavy here. Maybe grabbing opposite elbows and swaying side to side for ragdoll. Shaking the head no and nodding the head yes, releasing go of tension in the neck. And on our next inhale, coming to a halfway lift, bringing our fingertips to the shins, keeping a flat back here, drawing the shoulder blades together. And exhaling, fold. Inhaling, sweeping the arms up overhead. And exhaling, hands through heart center. We'll sink back into our chair pose here. So keeping the weight back into the heels, maybe wiggling the toes. Being able to see our toes just ahead of our knees. Taking one more breath here. And on our next inhale, we'll rise. And exhaling, hinging at the hips, forward fold. Finding this mini flow just one more time. Inhaling, coming to our halfway lift. And exhaling, forward fold. Inhaling, sweeping the arms up towards the sky. And exhaling, sinking back into our chair. Inhaling to rise. And exhaling, hinging at the hips, forward fold. This time on our inhale, we'll plant the hands down on the mat, stepping back into our downward facing dog. Taking one breath to recenter here. And taking our time, we'll all go ahead and drop the knees and untuck the toes, returning to our child's pose. Taking a moment here to reconnect, reminding ourselves that we can return to this point at any point in our practice today. This is a safe space on our mat with no judgment. Maybe noticing the warmth we've built in our body already. Taking a moment to notice the breath. Maybe it's a bit faster. And from here, we'll go ahead and move into our sun salutations. So on our next inhale, shifting the weight forward slowly, coming towards a kneeling plank, making sure our shoulders are over our wrists here and our spine is long. And exhaling, we'll squeeze the elbows in at our sides, releasing all the way down onto the mat. Inhaling, peeling the chest off of the mat, pulling back on the hands for baby cobra. And exhaling, pushing back into our child's pose. Inhaling, shifting the weight forward, coming back to our kneeling plank. And exhaling all the way down. Inhaling, lifting the chest up for baby cobra, pulling back on the hands. And this time on our exhale, we'll go ahead and tuck the toes and lift the hips, pushing back into our downward facing dog. Inhaling, the gaze is forward. We'll travel to the top of our mats. And exhaling, forward fold. Inhaling, coming to our halfway lift. And exhaling, forward fold. Inhaling, sweeping the arms up towards the sky. And exhaling, hands through heart center, sinking back into our chair. Inhaling to rise. And exhaling, hinging at the hips, forward fold. Inhaling, we'll go ahead and plant the hands down on the mat, stepping our left foot back, finding a low lunge. And exhaling that right foot back, finding our downward facing dog. Inhaling, shifting the weight forward, finding high plank, or we can drop the knees for kneeling plank. And exhaling, elbows at the sides all the way down. Inhaling, peeling the chest up for baby cobra, pulling back on the hands. And exhaling, tucking the toes and lifting the hips, finding our downward facing dog. Inhaling, our gaze is forward. We'll travel to the top of our mats. And exhaling, forward fold. Inhaling, coming to our halfway lift. And exhaling, forward fold. Inhaling, sweeping the arms up. And exhaling, hands through heart center, sinking back into our chair pose. Inhaling to rise. And exhaling, hinging at the hips, forward fold. Inhaling, planting the hands down on the mat, stepping our right foot back this time, finding a low lunge. And exhaling our left foot back, finding our downward facing dog. Inhaling, shifting the weight forward, coming to plank. And exhaling, chaturanga. And we'll all eventually meet back into our downward facing dog. Just taking a moment here to find the breath, recenter on our mats, bring our energy back. And when we're ready, we'll start to center the left foot in the middle of the mat, preparing for a three-legged dog. And on our next inhale, we'll reach that right leg up towards the sky, keeping that right hip pointed towards the mat so that our hips are squared. Actively spreading throughout the fingers, feeling strong here. And on our inhale, working a little bit on our abdominals, we'll shift the weight forward, coming to a plank, hugging that knee into our chest here, pressing away from the mat. And exhaling, sending it back into our three-legged dog. This time, inhaling, shifting the weight forward, we'll go ahead and place that right foot through in between the hands, finding a low lunge, keeping this front knee directly over the ankle here, taking a moment to recenter. And on our next inhale, coming to a high lunge, we'll reach the arms up overhead, and exhaling, bending into that front knee. If it feels better, we can move the feet hip-width distance apart to find some more stability. But reaching the hands up overhead here, feeling strong. The gaze is forward. We're engaging the core even here. We're going to find a little bit of movement. So inhaling, lengthening through the spine. And on our exhale, taking a slight bend in that back knee, finding our cactus arms, opening up the heart. Inhaling, coming back up, and exhaling down to our cactus arms. Inhaling up, and just one more time, exhaling down. Inhaling back up, and this time on our exhale, we'll open up, pivoting that back foot, opening up to our warrior two. So our gaze is through our front middle finger here, maybe being able to glance down and see our big toe just on the inside of our knee. Taking a few breaths here to recenter. Feeling strong here. And on our next inhale, we'll go ahead and shift the weight forward, flipping that front palm. And exhaling, reversing our warrior, finding length along the right side of the body. Really focusing on lifting our chests up instead of over. We can bring this back hand just above the knee, or maybe even finding it in the small of our back, so whatever feels comfortable. Our gaze is up towards the sky. And lifting with this top hand on our inhale, we'll go ahead and pivot that back foot, windmilling our arms all the way down, reframing that front foot for our low lunge. And on our next exhale, sending that right foot back, finding our downward facing dog one more time. Inhaling, we'll go ahead and shift the weight forward, coming to our plank again. And exhaling, chaturanga, the same thing that we did in our sun salutations. And taking a moment here in our downward facing dog. We'll all go ahead and drop our knees again, untucking the toes and sinking back into our child's pose. Just taking a moment here, maybe noticing one side feels a little different than the other. Maybe it feels stronger. Maybe it feels more open, or maybe even more tired. But just paying attention to that. bringing awareness to the breath. So taking just a few more breaths here in child's pose, coming back to our breath, feeling our bodies, noticing any areas of tightness or tension, just making sure we're spending extra time and effort and energy towards those places. And from here, there's absolutely no rush. We'll all eventually come back to our downward facing dog, tucking the toes and lifting the hips. Maybe finding a little movement here. And starting to switch sides, we'll center the right foot in the middle of the mat. And on our next inhale, we'll reach that left leg towards the sky, finding our three-legged dog again. Again, keeping sure that left hip is pointed towards the mat. We can keep our foot pointed or flexed, but keeping it active. And finding the same crunch as before. On our inhale, we'll shift the weight forward, hugging that knee in towards the chest, really pressing away from the mat here, engaging the core. And exhaling, sending it back to our three-legged dog. Inhaling this time, we'll go ahead and step that foot through, placing it in between the hands, finding a low lunge. Taking one moment here to reconnect, recenter, finding our balance. Again, if it feels better, if we want some more stability, we can widen the stance by bringing the feet hip-width distance apart. And on our next inhale, we'll go ahead and reach the arms up towards the sky, finding that same high lunge. Really pressing that back heel towards the mat, feeling strong here. Taking one deep inhale to lengthen through the spine. And exhaling, opening those arms back up. Our gaze is towards the sky, bending in that back knee. We'll inhale to rise. And exhaling to bend. Moving with our own breath, finding two more. And on our next inhale, coming up to the top, really lengthening through the spine, paying attention to our breath. And on our next exhale, pivoting that back foot, opening back up to our warrior two here on the other side. Again, making sure our front knee is over our ankle. I'm going to turn around just for the sake of the video. Our gaze is through our front middle fingers. We're feeling strong here, keeping the arms active. Maybe even finding a smile throughout these challenging points in our practice today. And on our next inhale, shifting the weight forward, we'll go ahead and flip that front palm. And exhaling, reversing our warrior, finding length along the left side of the body this time. Focusing on lifting our chest up towards the sky, keeping that bend in that front knee. We can bring this back hand just above our knee or combine in the small of our backs. Whatever feels good for our practice today, really breathing into this pose. And lifting with this top arm, we'll go ahead and inhale, coming all the way up to the top. We'll go ahead and bring our hands to our hips, pointing both toes towards the long edge of our mat. We'll inhale together, reaching the arms up overhead. And exhaling, hinging up the hips, folding forward, feeling a stretch between the legs here. Maybe even allowing the head to hang heavy, keeping a slight bend in the knees. And finding whatever feels good here. We can find stillness, or maybe we can find some movement, bending one knee at a time, feeling a stretch in the opposite leg. If we'd like, we can find a twist. We can center our left hand in the middle. Another inhale, we can reach that right arm up towards the sky. The gaze follows. And just one more breath here if we decided to do a twist. And exhaling, releasing down, switching sides, centering the right Hand in the middle this time. We'll inhale the left arm up overhead. Exhaling, releasing down. Taking just a couple more breaths, finding whatever feels good. Now on our next inhale, bringing our hands to our hips, taking a deep bend in the knees, we'll come all the way up to the top. And from here, we'll simply just step to the top of our mats, bringing our hands to heart center, bring our attention to the breath. And taking just a few more moments here to really reconnect with the breath. Trying to deepen the breath and slow it down. We are going to be moving into our balancing pose of our practice, which is going to be figure 4. So I invite you to take a moment. I am going to be using a block for this pose, but you could also use a water bottle if you have a water bottle nearby, or an empty coffee can, or anything else that you have in your home that sort of resembles the same shape that you can put weight on. So I'll give us a few moments for those of us who have a block or something nearby. Otherwise, we can go find something that will work. And so from here, we'll slowly start to move into our figure 4 pose. So we'll start to ground all 4 corners of the right foot in the middle of the mat, bringing our block just in front of our mats for this. And on our next inhale, we'll lift that left knee up towards the sky, flexing the foot to keep this active. We can look around in our surroundings and find something stable to keep our balance, really focusing on engaging the core here. And from here, we can slowly start to bend that standing leg, and we'll bring this ankle just on top of our knee here, opening up the hips and the knee, being sure to flex this foot to protect the knee. We can play with how much we'd like to bend the standing leg here, keeping our hands at heart center, doing our best to keep our weight towards our heels here, in the back body, really engaging the legs, focusing on strength in this position. So if we'd like to work on strength for our practice today, I invite you to stay here. If we'd like to work on flexibility, I invite you to maybe reach the hands in front of us, reach them towards the block. If they find the block, you can rest the hands there, maybe allowing the head to hang. Working on both balance and flexibility here while still strengthening the standing leg. If it feels good, we can keep our hands on our blocks or we can reach them towards the floor. Appreciating the process here, appreciating wherever we're at. And taking just a few more moments here. Wherever we're at, we'll all inhale, coming back up to the top. And exhaling, slowly releasing down, shaking out the feet. Great job, everyone, I'm sure. Taking one more breath before we switch sides. And from here, we'll slowly start to ground all 4 corners of the left foot this time. And on our next inhale, we'll reach that right knee up towards the sky, flexing that foot here again. Taking just a few moments here to find that same balance, that same stability. And whenever we're ready, we'll slowly start to bend that standing leg, bringing that ankle just above the knee, being sure to flex that foot, really feeling the hip open up here, playing with how much we want to bend that standing leg for more of a stretch. Doing our best to keep our spine long, sending energy out the crown of the head, keeping the weight back in the heel here, really focusing on our breath. And having the same options as before. If you'd like to work on strength for our practice today, we can stay here, or if you'd like to maybe fold forward, hinging at the hips, reaching towards our blocks, and maybe if our hands fall on our blocks or our water bottles or coffee cans, we can allow the head to hang, Really feeling the hip open up here, keeping that foot flexed and active. Really breathing into this pose. If we lose our balance, we just get right back into where we were. Wherever we're at, on our next inhale, we'll slowly come back up to the top. And exhaling, releasing that foot down, shaking out the feet. Great job, everyone. That was our balancing pose of the day. We can move our blocks towards the sides or whatever we were using. We're not going to use them again. So coming back to the top of our mats, maybe closing our eyes, taking just a few more moments, noticing where we're at. And taking a moment here to wind down as we move into our cool down. Doing our best to slow the breath. Maybe scan the body, noticing how the body feels. And on our next inhale, we'll sweep the arms up overhead. And exhaling, slowly hinging at the hips, folding all the way forward, allowing the head to hang heavy. You can have the option to stay here in our forward fold, or if we'd like to find gorilla, I invite you to bend the knees almost until the chest is resting on top of them. It can be a lot. And from here, we'll bring the hands under the feet, palms up, really making sure to hang the head heavy, not keeping any tension or stress in the neck. Maybe wiggling the toes here, massaging the creases of the wrists, feeling the support of our legs from our upper body. Taking one more breath here. If we decided to come to gorilla, we can start to unwind the hands, maybe straightening out the knees, coming back to our forward fold. And on our next inhale, planting the hands down on the mat, we'll step back into our last downward facing dog of the class here. Maybe taking a moment to notice how different this downward facing dog feels compared to the beginning of class. From here, we'll go ahead and inhale, shifting our weight forward, coming to a plank. And exhaling, elbows at the sides, releasing all the way down onto our bellies. And from here, we're going to be coming into a full bow, but starting off with half bow. We're going to bring our left forearm in front of us for stability. And on our next inhale, we'll kick that right leg behind us, reaching for the ankle, the outside of the ankle here. And taking a big, deep exhale together. And on our inhale, we'll go ahead and kick that right foot into our hand, really lifting up the chest here, lifting up the gaze. Feeling the hip and the belly press into the mat here, really engaging the glutes and the quads. And exhaling, releasing that foot down, letting go of our grip, bringing both forearms in front of us. We'll go ahead and let our left cheek rest on them as a pillow. Taking a few breaths here. And on our next inhale, coming back to center, we're going to go ahead and bring our right forearm in front of us this time. We'll go ahead and kick that left foot back, being sure to flex the foot and reaching that hand to the outside of the ankle here, finding our half bow on the other side. Taking a deep exhale together. And on our inhale, we'll kick that foot back, lifting up the chest here. Really feeling that belly and that hip pressing into the mat, opening up through the heart space. And on our next exhale, releasing down, letting go of that grip, bringing our forearms in front of us, letting our right cheek rest on them as a pillow this time. On our next inhale, coming back to center, we're going to be finding our full bow right now. So bending both knees, our toes are towards the sky. We'll go ahead and reach both arms to the outside of our ankles here. The gaze is just ahead of our mats for now. We'll exhale together. And on our inhale, kicking through both feet, wherever that takes us. Really opening up the heart space, the gaze lifts. Feeling the shoulders expand, the chest rises and opens up towards the sky. Taking one full breath here, playing with how much we can kick into our hands, our belly pressing against the floor. And exhaling, releasing back down. Bringing our hands by our ribs, we'll go ahead and press ourselves back into our child's pose. Feeling that lower back open after our bow. Taking one moment here. On our next inhale, we'll slowly start to walk the hands up towards the knees, coming all the way to the top. We'll sit on one side, swinging the legs around, coming to the tops of our mats, bringing the soles of the feet onto the mat. And finding just one more abdominal pose, we're going to move into boat pose. So we can keep the hands under the thighs, or we can reach them out in front of us, palms up. We'll inhale to really lengthen throughout the spine. And on our exhale, shifting the weight back onto our tailbones, playing with how much we can lift the feet off of the mat, really engaging the core here, lifting the chest up towards the sky. Maybe we can bring the feet to chest distance so that they're all on the same level. Our palms are up towards the sky or under our thighs, taking just a few more breaths here. Taking one more deep inhale, really engaging the core. And exhaling, slowly releasing the feet back down onto the mat, keeping the hands wherever they were. On our next exhale, we'll slowly melt all the way onto the mat, one vertebrae at a time, still engaging that core, until we melt all the way down. And on our next inhale, we'll hug both knees into the chest here, maybe drawing circles with the knees, massaging the lower back. And switching directions if we decided to draw circles. And on our next inhale, we'll hug our right knee into our chest, sending our left leg out long. And exhaling, taking it across our bodies, finding a twist. We can bring our arms out to our cactus arms or out to a T. Our gaze is over our right shoulder. Really just taking a moment to breathe here. Feeling the belly and the chest lift with each inhale. Releasing with each exhale. And on our next inhale, slowly come back to center, hugging that right knee in. One more time. And exhaling, switching sides, sending our right leg long, hugging our left knee into our chest here. And on our next exhale, taking it across the body, finding the same twist on the other side. Bringing our arms out to a cactus or a T. The gaze is over the left shoulder. On our next inhale, coming back to center, hugging that left knee into our chest one last time, and exhaling, sending it long, allowing the feet to take up as much of the mat as we'd like, allowing the hands to rest wherever comfortable, at our sides. Allowing the eyes to draw closed, preparing for our final relaxation pose, or Shavasana. Taking a moment to appreciate this rare feeling of stillness in the body, and stillness in the mind, letting go of thoughts as they come in, letting go of our to-do lists of the day, or any stress we're carrying. I invite you with each exhale, we'll release any tension or negativity that's happening in our lives. With each inhale, we're inviting in positivity and energy for our days. Noticing any areas that are carrying stress, maybe the shoulders, the belly, the hips, the lower back. Just bringing our full attention to our breath and how we're feeling to appreciate this moment. Shavasana. Slowly starting to invite small movements back into the body by wiggling the toes and wiggling the fingers, maybe even rocking the head side to side, massaging the back of the head. And slowly we'll go ahead and inhale just one arm up overhead, and on our exhale we'll slowly roll over to that side using our arm as a pillow. And from here, using our top hand, we'll go ahead and slowly press ourselves up to a comfortable seated position. Bringing the hands to heart center, maybe even allowing the eyes to stay closed just for one more moment. Taking the time to thank ourselves for coming to our mats for our practice today through this video. The light with me honors the light within you. Namaste. Thank you all so much for coming to my class today. Again, my name is Nikki. I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your day, and I hope that this helped you find your rec your way.